Hey y'all, 37-31, Mississippi State loses the ball game to South Carolina. Back-to-back losses for the Bulldogs after starting the season 2-0. I thought we saw some good things for Mississippi State on Saturday night. That's kind of the frustrating thing for the Bulldogs right now. You lose this ball game by 7, which is basically what you were projected to lose the game by. But again, it's how things played out that's really frustrating for Mississippi State. And in this one, it was struggles on the defensive side of the ball, the struggles on the offensive line for Mississippi State, and the mistakes that the Bulldogs had that were costly in this game. And we'll kind of break down what we saw in this ball game tonight for Mississippi State as they go on the road and lose this ball game to South Carolina. It was such a pivotal game for Mississippi State this year. I don't think it's a season-defining game. I think there's still some things ahead of the Bulldogs that they can get done, but it was such a turning point for them if they could have won this ball game on the road against a South Carolina team that's reeling a little bit. They got some injuries. This is not a great South Carolina team. It's not even really a good South Carolina team. They have a great quarterback, and in my opinion, could be the best quarterback in the league. And some people might scoff at that, but Spencer Rattler right now has been the most consistent quarterback in this league right now. And Jayden Daniels has been pretty good, but Spencer Rattler's been better. He was 18 of 20 in the ball game. The 2 passes that were incomplete were relatively catchable. 288 yards, 3 touchdowns. I thought he was phenomenal in the game for a team that's really struggling up front. They're struggling to run the football. Spencer Rattler was the difference in the ball game to me. I thought that he was fantastic, and he's been good the entire season to this point. I mean, just a guy that's playing at the top of his level. Unfortunately for South Carolina, I don't think that they have the dudes to have a big season. This is going to be a tough season for them because they're struggling up front. They're struggling to run the football, which tonight, this is one of the best games they've had. This is a team that can't run the football, and they did it against Mississippi State because Mississippi State was just awful on the defensive side of the ball. And it's really unacceptable for State to be this bad defensively. It really is. They have so many guys returning from last season. You have the camaraderie, so to speak, on the defensive side of the ball. Matt Brock has been on the defense. This isn't he's a new defensive coordinator, but he's not a new face to these guys. This should be a defense that should be pretty good, and the secondary shouldn't be as bad as they are right now. But it was just an awful game for Mississippi State defensively. They give up 432 yards of offense, felt like more. 144 yards on the ground to a team that literally had less yards rushing combined than Jaquavius Marks did coming into the game. It's unacceptable to have the defensive performance that State did on Saturday. They gave up, 144 yards, I said, on the ground. And, it still wasn't a great game running the football for South Carolina. They averaged 3 yards a rush, but it was just they couldn't get off the field on third downs. They had a couple of penalties on drives where they could have got off the field. They didn't get off the field there. 31-minute time of possession for South Carolina. It just wasn't a good game defensively. I thought, especially early, those first 2 possessions that South Carolina had, unacceptable. You just cannot have those kind of possessions defensively. They drove down the field, 90-plus yards on those possessions for touchdowns, had a big touchdown pass. And again, you're talking about, it's not like, a team is just running up and down the field. They had some success on the ground, 144 yards. They tried to make a point to run the football today, 47 carries to 27 passes. It was the fact that Xavier Leggett is the only guy that you have to make sure he doesn't get the ball. Juice Wells is not playing, so they're missing their best wide receiver. You have the second best wide receiver, a guy who's had a good start to the season, 5 catches, 189 yards, averaged 38 yards a catch. 2 touchdowns. Again, this is the same thing that we saw last week with Malik Neighbors. Mississippi State is not, for whatever reason, doing what it takes to make sure these guys don't get the ball. I don't know what's going on there. Trey Knox, the tight end, he's an okay tight end, played for Arkansas. He's solid, 4 catches for 53 yards. It's too much for a tight end. Nobody else did anything. These guys did everything. They had 9 of the 18 catches. And for most of the yardage, 189 yards for Xavier Leggett, 53 for Trey Knox. That's the majority of the offense that Spencer Rattler was able to put up. Let's see, you had 18, 26. You had over 30 yards from everybody else that caught the passes. The rest of the unit didn't really hurt you. The two guys that you needed to stop killed you. So, it's just it's a rough outing for Mississippi State defensively. And it's really a shame because this is one of the best offensive games that we've seen from Mississippi State. I mean, Will Rogers was 30 for 48, which he had his moments where he struggled. But 487 yards, they took shots down the field. The offense looked like it had some kind of steady flow in the passing game. This is the best this offense has looked in a while. This is the best it's looked even whenever they were running the air raid. They were getting the ball down the field, explosive plays. Tulu Griffin set a school record for receiving, 7 catches, 256 yards is a school record, 1 touchdown. Justin Robinson almost had 100 yards. Xavier Thomas had 5 catches for 56. Will Rogers came out with a purpose in this game, and I refuse to blame him for anything in this ballgame. I refuse. Threw an interception in the red zone. That was a mistake. I thought, by the rule, I've seen the rule been put out there on that interception. It looks like it was, the correct call, I guess. I don't know. But, that interception was inexcusable as far as a throw from Will Rogers. But I refuse to blame him. I thought he played a great game. 30 for 48, completed 63% of his passes, and this wasn't an air raid game for Will Rogers. He was getting the ball down the field. He had open receivers and one-on-one coverage. This is the best that Will Rogers has looked at Mississippi State. I truly believe that. He made some throws tonight that he has not made since he's been in Starkville. And he proved to me tonight he's capable of running this offense. I'm done blaming anything on Will Rogers. I'm done saying you got to turn to Mike Wright or anything like that. Will Rogers is capable of running this offense. He is. He threw passes down the field that a lot of people said he couldn't make. He made those passes tonight. They are capable of running this offense with Will Rogers this year. So I'm done saying this offense can't work with Will Rogers or he can't make these plays. He almost threw for 500 yards in this game. I'm not going to blame him for this. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, the biggest issue for me right now is the offensive line. This unit is struggling badly. This is a South Carolina defensive line that's been bad. South Carolina, first of all, could not run coming in the ball game, and they ran for 144 yards. They were not good up front. Their secondary has been their strong point. They haven't been able to stop the run. They haven't been able to run the football. State was 23 carries for 32 yards tonight. So the rushing game was non-existent. But you still had a chance in this game. If you score 30 points on the road in the SEC, you are in position to win games. If you're not in position to win the game, it's your defense's fault. And to me, tonight was on the defense. There were mistakes on the offensive side of the ball, but they shouldn't be in that position where those are that big of a factor on the game. The turnover from Will Rogers on a fumble, which was, to me, highly debatable. The fact that the ball went 10 yards down the field, it's kind of tough to me to expect that to be a fumble. I know the ball was moving a little bit or whatever, but that's a tough call there. And then the interception, it is what it is. You can't blame the game on the offense in those plays. You just can't. The defense can't give up 37 points on the road and expect to win a game. Can't do it. So, really frustrating night again for State, but there was no surprise to Vegas. Most of the people that were predicting this game coming in believed Mississippi State was going to lose this game by a touchdown or so. It's, to me, the biggest revelation from this game was Mississippi State is capable of doing big things in this offense from an explosive play standpoint. That's what we saw. Will Rogers got the ball down the field consistently. His receivers were open for big plays. And I think that's a big development for Mississippi State. But, big but here, big but. I'm sorry. Hope my mom's not watching this. A big but to that statement is the defense is a problem. That is 3 games in a row this defense has not been good. And with the guys that they have on the defensive side of the ball returning, it shouldn't be this way. I don't know if it's a scheme standpoint or let's look at the defense, what happened today. I mean, Jet Johnson, he's playing his guts out. 14 tackles, tackle for loss, a sack. I thought Nathan Pickering was fantastic in the game. 8 tackles, 2 sacks from your nose tackle. I mean, it's hard to ask your nose tackle to have an 8-tackle performance. But that's what Nathan Pickering did. Everybody else, it was just a struggle. I thought, Sean Preston was my X factor on Thunder and Lightning this week. I thought that he was going to make a difference in the second half for Mississippi State when he returned. Had he played in the first half, this might be a different game. It really would have. Had 4 tackles, but he had the big forced fumble that led to a game-tying field goal. This could have been a different game had Sean Preston played. He's the one guy in the secondary right now that I think can change things for Mississippi State defensively. And people have given him a hard time. He's given up some big plays in the passing game in the past. But this guy's a playmaker. He's a Nico Whitley-type safety. Yes, he's going to give up passes, big pass plays. There's going to be times where he does that. But that's not his thing. His thing is a ball-hawking defensive playmaker, and we saw that, forcing the fumble. That's what he does. They needed him tonight in the first half. Didn't have him because of that targeting penalty against LSU. That was a huge loss. Jordan Morant was in there, struggled at times, but he had a couple of big plays. And then Isaac Smith, the true freshman, you're asking a true freshman to come out there and make a big play for you. State's not getting a ton of push up front. That's a big issue. I think Nathan Pickering is doing a great job. They're not getting anything on the edge. They're not able to set the edge. That's a big problem for them. They gave a lot of time to Spencer Rattler in this game, and that was an issue. So, and I don't think there's anything that you can do to fix that this year. State's got to recruit better. They got to get guys in there that can get to the quarterback and disrupt things there defensively. But defense looks slow in this game, and I just don't know if it's going to be fixable this year. And that's a concern. That's a major concern. But here's the thing. The schedule ahead after Alabama, who, again, did not look great on Saturday, but there's no way that myself or anybody else is going to predict Mississippi State to beat Alabama next week. So, you just have to assume that's going to be another loss for Mississippi State. After that, every single game is a winnable game for Mississippi State, but also the majority of them are losable games. They should beat Western Michigan, and they should beat Southern Miss. Can they find 2 more wins in there? Can they go to Arkansas, Auburn, A&M, and then have Ole Miss and then Kentucky at home? Can they win 2 games in that stretch? I think it's possible. The defense has got to find a way to be better. And if that's Zach Arnett taking over as play caller, I don't know. But they have to find a way because right now this defense is just flat out bad for Mississippi State, and I don't know what the answer is. I don't know, from a player standpoint, there's nothing you can do. You got the guys that you got. But this is virtually the same group, especially in the front 6 that you had last year. I mean, the secondary, obviously, missing Emmanuel Forbes. Cornerbacks have not been good. The cornerbacks were bad on Saturday. And then the safety group, I think they've been okay. So I don't have a ton of complaints about that group, but the cornerbacks they're definitely missing Emmanuel Forbes. A guy like that, a lot of people I think took him for granted. They just haven't had the guys there to perform. So, I don't know. This is going to be one of those situations where everybody has to look themselves in the mirror for Mississippi State and say, we're not going to accept a losing season or whatever, because the schedule is not going to be very easy, but it's not daunting either. A lot of these games are toss-up ball games on the road at Arkansas, on the road at Auburn. Right now, I would definitely take Texas A&M against State because their defensive front was really good against Auburn, and they did enough on offense. I don't have any faith in Mississippi State's defense right now. I have a little more faith in State's offense, though, moving forward. Arkansas and Auburn are winnable games. Arkansas had a great game against LSU, but I still don't trust them very much. Auburn is a year out, if not 2 years. And then you got Kentucky at home. That's a big game to get at home. That's a game that you should win at home. We'll see how that goes. And they should win their last 2 non-conference games. We'll see what they can do from here on out. They got to get 4 more wins to get the bowl eligibility. That's kind of what you're looking at right now, is just trying to get the bowl eligibility with this team, because it's just it's hard to imagine them getting to our projection of 7 or 8 wins. That's kind of the issues that you have right now. So anyway, appreciate you guys checking in. We have coverage. I want to give a shout out. Justin Fromer and David Murray are covering for us in South Carolina. Didn't go tonight. Had a chance to stay at home, watch the game with some friends here at the house. It's always fun to just have a weekend where you don't have to go on the road or whatever. So I appreciate those guys for providing coverage for us, and it was just impossible for me to get out there anyway. But it's always nice to have a kind of a relaxing day, so to speak. So it was a good day. Enjoyed the day watching college football. It was a fantastic college football day. Hope you guys were able to enjoy most of it, if not, up until 6:30 or so. But we'll see what Zach Arnett has to say from the reports from Justin Fromer and David Murray as well, from what they gathered there, and then we'll talk to him again on Monday as well. But I thought some good things came from the game. I mean, you can't leave that game and just be completely deflated from it. I think you have to step back and take a look at the progress that Mississippi State made. This offense was inept the last 2 weeks. To come out and throw for nearly 500 yards, for Will Rogers to come out and have the game that he had, you have to give credit to Kevin Barbay and Will Rogers for doing what they did. Coming out and just letting it all hang out and throwing the ball down the field. I mean, there's a lot to like about what we saw today offensively. There's a lot to really be concerned about defensively. State's got a lot of issues on the defensive side of the ball. You got a defensive head coach, a guy that's been in the system now for 4 years too, and Matt Brock. You got to be better than that, and State was not. So it's back to the drawing board again. Doesn't get any easier. State's going to face a team that's probably going to be somewhere around 10 to 13. They're 13th this week, Alabama. Probably going to be in the top 10. A team that you have not scored more than 6-7 points, whatever, against since 2017. State's got to come out and show some fight next week, and we'll see if they're able to do that. All right, guys, we will have full coverage coming from Justin Fromer and David Murray, of course, from South Carolina, so stay tuned for that. And then Monday we'll have the press conference with Zach Arnett. We'll have full coverage there, and we'll come back on YouTube as well on Monday night and do a Talking Dogs session. So hope you guys have a great Sunday. Enjoy the NFL, church, whatever you got going on Sunday. Appreciate you guys checking in tonight. This has been my thoughts. If you disagree with it, that's fine. If you don't, give me a like, give me a subscription. Even if you disagree with it, give me a like and a sub. I'd appreciate it. A share, whatever you want to do. I'd really appreciate it. All right, guys. Have a good night. Have a good Sunday. Catch you down the road.